орчин хэлбэрийн судлаач. Энэ хүн school making system Калифорни Санта Барбара Калифорни сургуулийн профессор. Энэ ихтгэлийн ерөнхий агуулга Буддын ухаан мөн дадуулахуйн арга анхаарал сарнилыг хүчнүүлэх юм профессор. This is your recognition of the latitude. So, okay.
Test. Thank you for maybe make a little. Thank you very much. It is a great honor to be speaking with you today. Today, I would like to speak about the impact of Buddhist philosophy and practice on the science of mind wandering. Mind wandering is an area of research that I personally have been engaged in for many years. Mind wandering is an age-old problem, as acknowledged by the Buddha himself, who said, "Let the wise guard their thoughts, which are difficult to perceive, extremely subtle, and wander at will." We've all experienced mind wandering. It's engaging in thoughts unrelated to the current situation or task at hand. I expect some of you have experienced mind wandering even today as you've been listening to the talk, although I'm quite sure our interpreter has not. One experience that is a very familiar case of mind wandering is when you're reading and you realize as you're reading that your eyes have been moving across the page, but your mind is somewhere else entirely. That's a classic example of mind wandering. Research on mind wandering has found that it has many costs. Not surprisingly, when you are reading and you mind wander, you don't comprehend the material as well. Indeed, mind wandering affects any task that involves working memory, that involves the active processing of information in a controlled manner. And it's also been associated with negative mood as well. When you're mind wandering, on average, you tend to be less happy than when you're present focused. So how can we help to control mind wandering? Well, the solution has also been recognized in Buddhism for a long time. The Anapanasati Sutta said, "Breathing in, I calm my mental formations. Breathing out, I calm my mental formations." So the idea is that through the practice of breath-focused meditation, we can learn to quiet the mind, learn to recognize when our minds wander, and that may be an antidote to mind wandering. So we have investigated the impact of mindfulness training on the occurrence of mind wandering. We did this in a number of different studies, and I'll tell you about some of those today. In one study, we did a 2-week mindfulness training course, and we had undergraduates either randomly assigned to 2-week mindfulness or a 2-week nutrition course where they believed it would be helpful, but it wasn't really focused on mind wandering. Our training was done by a former Buddhist monk, Tarkin Phillips, who was ordained and had 2 3-year meditation retreats at the dadуулahuйн Hermitage in France. So a very qualified trainer. And his training involved foundational mindfulness of eating, posture, and breath, deepening awareness of mental and emotional patterns, which embodied mindfulness that integrates mindful presence and listening, emotional intelligence, and relationship skills. And this culminated in bringing mindfulness into daily life. So half of the participants were given Dawa's training, and then the other half were given the nutrition class. The way the study worked is we had a control group, or the control group was the nutrition class, and then both before and after the training, we gave them a working memory task, which required them to hold information in mind, and then afterwards we asked them about if they were mind wandering. And then we also gave them a reading task in which we probed them while they were reading and asked them, just now, were you mind wandering? So I could ask you right now, just now, were you mind wandering? Gives you sort of a sense of the experience. And then they also pressed a button to indicate if they had noticed that they were mind wandering. And here you can see, I'm sorry you can't see this graph very well, but this basically is comparing the degree of mind wandering performance on the reading class. I'll just tell you what it shows. It showed that people who received the mindfulness training, they performed better on the reading task and better on the working memory task than did participants in the control condition. Furthermore, they mind wandered less, both in retrospective reports and also self-caught and pro-caught mind wandering. And their reduction in mind wandering statistically accounted for their improvement in performance. What this indicates is that the mindfulness training enhanced their performance, enhanced their focus, largely by reducing mind wandering. That's the first study I want to tell you about. Another study looked at something called gibberish detection. I'll tell you what that is in a moment. And this was a study that was done in combination with Alan Wallace, who is a monk who was ordained by the Dalai Lama, and is also a very very productive scholar and is a very impactful person in the field. And he did the Shamatha project, which involved an intensive Shamatha meditation emphasizing relaxed, stable, and clear attention for 3 months. And we did both pre and post measures of their gibberish detection, which I'll tell you about in a moment. And then we did a 7-year follow-up. And in the second study, we had pre-post measures with both participants who received the intervention and participants who were a control group. Now let me tell you about the gibberish detection task. So in this task, participants read simple children's stories, word by word, and periodically a word will appear that we call gibberish, in that it does not fit into the sentence. And then the question is, how long will they continue to advance the text when the text no longer is making sense? If you're paying attention, then you should catch the gibberish right away. But if you're mind wandering, you will not. And so we ask the question, does this Shamatha training enhance people's ability to catch the gibberish, which means it's reducing their mind wandering? And indeed example of the gibberish detection. So they're reading, "We must make some circus for the money." You see, that doesn't make sense. You might make money for the circus, not circus for the money. So if they keep reading it like that, without noticing it, they must be mind-wandering. And what you can see here is that between the pre-test and the post-test, there was a significant reduction in the number of words that they advanced before they caught the gibberish. So the shamatha training enhanced their ability to catch the gibberish. In other words, it reduced mind wandering. And remarkably, that benefit persisted for 7 years. In the follow-up study, we compared the training condition to the control, time 1 and time 2, and as you can see, the training condition showed a benefit and the control condition did not. So again, what this shows is using a different measure of mind wandering that shamatha meditation was effective in reducing mind wandering. Another study is what we call the Plasticity Initiative. And here was an intensive training for 6 weeks. We've done this 3 different times, and I'll tell you a little bit of results from 2 of these studies. It involved mindfulness-based health and wellness called the Summer Intensive Transformation, and it included meditation, yoga, exercise, and Dharma talks. 5.5 hours a day, 5 days a week for 6 weeks. And in this study, we looked at many, many different measures. And I just want to highlight, I won't be able to see them all, but just the breadth of benefits that we found from this intervention. Again, we had a waitlist control as our control condition. So what I'm showing you here are the differences between the participants in the active study and those in the control. And there's a lot of information here, but what you can see here is we got substantial increases in health on a number of different measures, including muscular flexibility and cardiovascular endurance, in cognitive performance, including task focus, in psychological scales, including, again, reduced mind wandering. And we also saw changes in brain connectivity. As was mentioned in a previous talk, there is a network called the default mode network. And that is a network that gets activated. We've shown this in our research when people are mind wandering. And we found that following this intervention, there was reduced connectivity with the default mode network. That's the PCC. The testimonials also really showed how impactful it was. One came to say, this was the best thing I ever experienced. Another said, I came in as a skeptic, and I certainly didn't think I would change my life in 6 weeks, but I learned to take control of my mind, and it has made me happier, stronger, healthier, and more focused. We also saw in a separate study changes in the structure of the brain, increased thickness in the left insula, which is an area that's associated with interoception, that is with monitoring the internal state of the body. Finally, I'd like to mention that we have a program in which we've introduced these insights into an app that we are giving to high school students around the United States. It's called Finding Focus, and it introduces various different aspects of mindfulness in a secular manner, and they engage in grounding their attention while listening to music that they, of a genre that they like. And we also give them very specific training on how to anchor their attention and to bring it back to the anchor when it wanders. In a recent study, we examined the impact of this finding focus compared to a control condition. And we found that compared to the control condition, the finding focus led to less mind wandering in daily life, improved classroom focus, and it also had enhanced emotional regulation and higher growth mindset. So we've shown that we've been able to take some of these fundamental Buddhist ideas and put them into a secular context in which they are very valuable for enhancing the focus of students in high school. So, in summary, mind wandering is an age-old challenge recognized by the Buddha himself. Mindfulness and meditation is similarly an age-old solution. And we've taken these age-old insights and scientifically investigated them. Our research demonstrates that focusing on the breath and other mindfulness techniques can reduce mind wandering and improve performance on a variety of tasks, including vigilance, reading, working memory, gibberish detection, and it also changes brain activity and structure. And when incorporated in an app, it becomes a valuable tool for students to enhance their focus. So we are deeply grateful to the long tradition and history of Buddhist practices because of the value that it has offered for the scientific investigation of how to reduce mind wandering. I'd like to just acknowledge the many foundations and colleagues that contributed to this research, and I'd like to indicate my appreciation for your attention today. Thank you very much.
Доктор Скүлэрийн биеийн агуулгын эдгээр судлалын шинжилгээ байгууллагын өнгөсний профессорын сонирхолтой байсан. Үүгээр нэг жишээ эрдэм слаач АНУ-ын Улсын аргагийн ихч